Ed Campbell, the golden boy of Politics Joe. A pubcast a day. Cheers. I haven't had a day this week off the sauce.
Check you.
Really?
It's not good for me.
No, it's not.
It's not good for me.
Oh, fucking legend.
Should stop being such a pussy. Boris Johnson's in trouble, guys. Oh, and Ava Santina's here as well, obviously. Sorry, I should introduce you to everyone, Ava. That
It's
was
all right.
very,
Ava.
I like to
very
think
rude of
that's why
me.
people come.
Whoa.
For what reason?
Thank you, Ollie.
we did. Ed wanted us to do a drama mind game thing before this podcast to warm us up before this episode, and
Yeah.
it's fucking worked because
Feel hot.
we're cooking
Yeah.
with gas right now.
I think we need to do a more physical warm up next time.
What?
As in, like, if you physically warm yourself, if you like go around the room like that you do feel
Right.
better.
Yeah.
And higher energy, and it will be resulting.
I'm
in
feeling
better
pretty high
content.
energy right now.
Good. Have you noticed Ava doesn't like whoop at the beginning of the podcast?
I just think it would sound so bad.
Whoop.
Yeah.
No, can you?
No.
It was an instruction.
Not on a. not on a.
My other half told me that me whooping at the top of the podcast gives her the ick.
That's so funny.
Which is
So funny.
fantastic, which is why I kind of rode it back a little bit on that intro.
Are you worried that she'll leave over the whooping?
Every day.
It'd be something else.
Yeah, I think that if it, it wouldn't
The
be
laundry
that.
list of reasons to leave.
So that's way down the list. Boris Johnson. Naughty boy. Naughty boy. That's why we're doing this ostensibly, right?
Yep.
I think. We'll need a good pun for the episode title as well. Ava. You are the serious journalist among us.
Thank you.
The lobby accredited journalist. It's okay to be self-deprecating about yourself, but not about me. Yeah.
But also, we can't tell you what Ed's just been bidding for this morning. But if you knew the investigation that he's trying to
Tell us.
embark on.
No, come on, tell us. Tell us. If you want to be a serious journalist, tell me.
No, because what if someone else takes?
Come on, put your credentials.
I think it's good. You know what it is.
I know what it is. I'm challenging you to declare it to the podcast audience.
No,
You're going to sit on it. You want to keep it.
I want to keep it a surprise. I want people's imaginations to go wild, and they actually might suggest some better things. I can't believe you've been doing this.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's just a dead end. That conversation.
Sorry
isn't it?
about that.
No, it's okay. Back to what I was saying, Ava. Lobby accredited. Capital J Journo. Tell me
Thank you.
what's going on.
Forgot my lobby pass today. Big man with a gun shouted at me. It was really frightening.
Great work.
But don't worry, flirted my way through once again.
What's going on with Boris Johnson? What's happening?
Okay, so last night Boris Johnson was referred to the police by the Cabinet Office, and this is because Boris Johnson is currently being represented by lawyers that are paid for by the taxpayer. So he handed over all of his diaries to the Cabinet Office. Now, civil servants looking over those were, well, confused about why he had been in Chequers and in Downing Street doing certain activities that may or may not have breached lockdown. And so they have referred those events to Thames Valley Police and the Metropolitan Police, and both of those forces are now investigating it further. Now, this is where it kind of gets a bit murky because Johnson's claiming that it's a stitch-up and that he didn't know that the police were investigating it, and yesterday's news was a shock. However...
We should, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we should believe everything he says.
Oh, right.
We should take it at face value,
I
think.
thought you were going to tell me that I wasn't, I was being too one-sided. Or
No.
I thought you were going to be like, Ava, come on.
No, not at all. I just think,
Less of the skew.
I think the man has a proven track record of honesty, and that when he says something about this inquiry, we should believe him.
Yes. And what helps that case is that on the 19th of May, the COVID inquiries say that they wrote to Boris Johnson and told him. So anyway, today it's all really kicked off. And the COVID inquiry are now threatening the government with legal action if they don't hand over all of Boris Johnson's diaries and WhatsApps without redaction. Now, if you were the government and you're Rishi Sunak, would you really want to hand over the redacted version, the non-redacted, when the redacted has led to a police inquiry? just supposing.
But then, sorry, no, you keep going.
No, just the final little bit of that is that Boris Johnson has now said, after all this, he won't use the taxpayer lawyers, he's going to get his own.
Crucial distinction there. As I understand it, the taxpayer still pays for the lawyers.
Oh, he's getting his own lawyers.
He's going to choose a different law firm.
So what you're saying about the unredacted version, would Rishi Sunak want to hand that over? Well, yeah, it could kill Boris Johnson's career dead once and for all.
Is it still alive?
Are you joking? Yes, it is.
It is within the
It
parliamentary
is
Conservative Party,
pulsating.
who clearly have their ear to the ground and are so intertwined with the thoughts and feelings of the British public. I think they're so there's still this militant pro-Johnson movement within the Conservative Party. They feel so beholden to him for giving them the election in 2019, and I think they feel that Johnson returning would be toasted across the land. There'd be parties in the street if Boris Johnson was to become Prime Minister again.
Is there a distinction here between the Tory party members and the Tory MPs? Because didn't they, Johnson and Truss, they tried to stir up some kind of rebellion, right, against Rishi? Was it on the Windsor framework, right? That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
They couldn't get 40 MPs, could they?
So I mean the right. I mean the right specifically. I should be clear. I didn't mean the parliamentary party at large.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. I mean, fucking Tory members would give their left nutsack, their left nut.
The left nuts.
Everyone has two.
That's why your partner wants to leave you. Not two nutsacks.
Yeah. I mean, they love him. They always will love him. They think there's like some conspiracy about it. I can never understand it. There's this small constituency of people that no matter what he does, they want him to be the Prime Minister.
He could start quite a convincing and destructive QAnon-esque cult in the UK.
You don't think he already has?
Well, QAnon's been a lot more destructive in the US than it has in the UK. And there's not people who stand up there's not pro-Johnson rallies with thousands of attendees, or people who there's not being on. There's not a being on MP in Parliament.
Yeah, but that's only because they can't drive there because Sadiq Khan's put ULEZ otherwise.
And they can't go
there in a
over the
heartbeat.
15-minute boundary of their home.
Yeah.
Thanks to the 15-minute city.
Yeah. I think you're wrong about Boris Johnson being dead in the water. I think he's declared £5 million on the public register. That's what he's earned since leaving the Prime Minister's office.
After doing speeches, yeah.
Yeah, and he's also, I don't know if you read that little tidbit about him being in Dallas the other week.
Oh, yeah.
And he was round the table and people were calling him Prime Minister. Because in America,
They're still
you
president.
still call them President. And apparently he was really horny for that.
Boris Johnson, really horny? No way.
That doesn't sound like him. I think just a little subplot in this is you're not entitled to legal aid in this country if you earn, I think it's more than £12,750.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be funding his defence of the inquiry. Like you just said, right? He's doing okay. He's made £5 million since he stopped becoming Prime Minister. Why are we paying for it?
Is it because whoever ended up paying for Boris Johnson's lawyers would embroil him in another ethically dubious scandal?
That was actually something that Carl Turner pointed out today in PMQs, the Labour MP. He actually looked like he really wanted to fight Rishi. It kind of, he was asking this question and he said about, £12,000 you wouldn't be entitled to legal aid. And then it kind of turned into a kind of fist fighting. It was almost like meet me in the tea room, It was quite violent. Rishi just said it's a long line. It's a long tradition.
Can you imagine how boring watching two MPs have an actual fight would be?
I think it'd be class. When was the last time you saw a physical fight? Like an actual, not like a professional sport, like a physical mano a mano.
Knowlesy at the West Ham AZ Alkmaar fans.
Yeah, and that was and we've all loved that. So I think actually seeing two sitting MPs, it'd be we could give them swords. We could have
but Ed, the reason the House of Commons chamber is set
Well, it
up
would
as
be in the
so
fucking chamber,
that
would
the
it?
opposition
Obviously.
benches would be more than a sword stroke away from each other. So.
Given the architectural imposition to fighting in the chamber, we wouldn't have it in the chamber.
Do you think they'd fence?
Yes.
I think it would be a highly embarrassing form of highly embarrassing and highly ritualized combat that I think I would find deeply embarrassing.
I reckon Angela Rayner could take quite a few of them.
I'd back her actually.
Yeah.
I'd back her.
I'd
in
put
all
my
the
money
fights.
on her.
Who's the hardest MP?
Lee Anderson. That photo, right? You've seen the photo with this.
Yeah.
Standing with his fists up.
Yeah.
Gary Sandbrook behind him with 2 dinners. Go on.
We started talking about PMQs, so we might as well carry on talking about PMQs, right? Thoughts and feelings. You're on 5 Live talking about it. What did you say there? Let's rehash those talking points.
No, listen, I was getting paid for that, so.
You're getting paid for
You're
this.
not getting paid to be here right
This is your
now.
job.
This is your main job, Ava.
we were talking about immigration and how it was quite an interesting. Okay, I didn't predict that he would start with immigration, Keir Starmer, today. I think it's an incredibly bold move to sit next to Yvette Cooper and Angela Rayner, two shadow cabinet members who have spearheaded the "Let's Keep Safe Passage for Refugees," campaign that's been going on the past year, to then go, "Oh, are you just bringing in cheap workers and undercutting everyone?" I mean, it's quite grotesque, really. You could hear it from the SNP benches as well. They were shouting over to Keir that he should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah, I back it. I think it's hugely ungratifying to see a Labour leader attack a Tory Prime Minister on immigration from the right. I think it's an utter embarrassment. And I think you keep feeding that beast, it cannibalizes you in the end. If you want to play to those base instincts, if you want to play to the worst part of people, i.e., like xenophobia, racism, that monster will engulf you eventually. Because I can tell you right now, Keir Starmer, you will not be enough of a racist for those forces.
That's a really good point. That is a really good point.
It eats you in the end.
Because he's sort of walking that awkward tightrope where he's arguing that open door immigration is driving up house prices, dilapidating facilities and driving down wages. But he's not quite saying what that portion of the country want him to. So actually, you're just upsetting both sides. And I don't really know to what end. Like, what's the fallout of that? Do other people do the electorate actually believe that Keir Starmer is going to do the vicious things that Suella Braverman claims she's going to do?
I guess he's trying to get ahead of the immigration figures, which come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
When this podcast is out.
It should be about 800,000. And, if what I don't really understand...
That's mad.
It is mad.
That's a lot.
Labour left office in 2010, it had gone up to 250,000, and then it was deemed a crisis. And, well, you've now got some of the worst rhetoric being bandied about by a Prime Minister and his government ever seen since Enoch Pell. And it's having no effect on the figures, is it?
Yeah, I don't buy the argument that we've welcomed Ukrainian refugees into this country, and that's the reason why people can't afford a house.
Yeah.
Or that's the reason why the GP surgery is full of appointments. Like it's such a misdirect. I guess Keir was trying to talk about it because, in his view, well, in basically everyone's view, I guess, Suella Braverman is not dealing with the small boats crisis, whether you're a critic from the left or a critic from the right. She's not handling that well. So he's trying to get ahead of that. But I if you wanted to be like a bit sort of morbid about it, it's quite funny that sort of we have the Brexit referendum, right, of which immigration is sort of like a key component part of galvanising the Leave vote. It cannibalises the Cameroon Tory party. It destroys every single Tory Prime Minister since. And now we have some of the lowest unemployment rates in a very, very long time in this country. Loads of industries need labour, and we're still sort of like complaining about the fact that we've got people coming into the country. It's I guess the argument is, if we don't accept the migration, then we drive up wages, right? Because there are so few workers, people have to be more competitive. But I just don't.
Based on what though? Because the hospitality industry will tell you right now that they actually can't keep going because they don't have enough people physically to work in this. And it's so...
Agriculture, logistics. Yeah.
It's way more nuanced than that top line, because how are you going to get people who live in Scunthorpe to go and pick fruit in Aberdeen? Like how...
It needs to make those industries so lucrative in order to it needs to make more financial sense. Like the financial benefit needs to massively outweigh not going. Like it's pretty fucking obvious. But that's the only way to massively incentivise the people to go and do the back-breaking work on the farms, etc. Which I think these industries, no one has the appetite to do that.
I think emigration is going to be a bigger concern than immigration in the coming years.
I'm very much that Australia call to action that they did, which was like, if you're a nurse or a teacher or a doctor,
crazy.
Come here. I was like, bloody hell, why didn't I do any of those?
Yeah, I was like, can I retrain?
Yeah.
And go and be a millionaire in Australia?
I'd love to see you as a teacher.
I want to be a teacher.
He's holding his Teach First pen again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like being a teacher, personally. I don't think I'd be very good at it. I'm not a patient man.
I believe in yourself, Ed.
No, I recognise my own limits.
I do. I just know as far as it'll get me. The final thing to talk about, I guess, is Suella not getting probed, as the notes say, which is delightfully euphemistic. Speeding offence, tried to intervene with civil servants, and now Laurie Magnus is not going to sort of investigate her. Is Suella Braverman too powerful for Rishi Sunak to deal with?
I'm going to say no.
I don't think so either, personally.
She came nowhere close to winning the Conservative leadership election, which has maybe the best metric of popularity within the Conservative Party.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Yeah,
it's the only. It's
the only one we have.
That's the best metric.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, do the blinkered Tory right really believe the person to bring back Tory popularity and electoral success is the face of the Rwanda policy? They can't be that blinkered. Cameron's
backed it now, the Rwanda policy.
Well, it's not like that's not going to like help the case for like.
Oh, are you saying he left in disgrace, Ed? Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't leave in disgrace.
It just seemed like Suella Braverman is going to throw her toys at the pram and resign and cause havoc from the backbenches and ultimately have very little impact on the future of the Conservative Party.
Yeah. I also think, actually, the whole thing about this story, which is kind of sad, is the most interesting bit to me is a really tiny, minute Westminster little pickup from it, which is that when journalists were trying to investigate this, her special advisor was denying she ever had a speeding ticket in the first place. See, now that's the bit I find really interesting, because that proves they are lying. They're not telling the truth, they're not being transparent, and this is a government awash with lies and corruption and rah. But the actual bit about whether she got points or not, which is what it's now become reduced to, I don't think is interesting. And you're going to end up now, in a couple of weeks, you'll have people going, oh, yeah, but you see what the lefty loons tried to do? They tried to take Suella Braverman out of post just because she had a speeding ticket, you know? It's quite reductive.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand the speeding ticket thing, because it is at the end, it's not a criminal offence, you know. It's all right, isn't it? She's just been speeding, but it's the lying, it's the trying to get the civil service to get you out of having to attend a course to save you personal embarrassment. I mean,
but you can do that, you know.
As a private person,
you can actually just do that. Anyone can do that. You don't have to.
What, the speed awareness course?
Yeah, if you have anxiety or you're.
I suppose you wouldn't go to like the civil servants that you're in charge of as a normal person.
I think she'd be more embarrassed to have to use anxiety as an excuse.
Yeah.
She'd be more embarrassed if it got leaked that she had a one-on-one meeting because she had anxiety. She would find that more politically damaging to her and like the Telegraph readers than any of the corruption stuff that's happened before.
Did you hear her shouting weirdo at the Labour bench?
What?
Yeah,
No.
It was really funny. I can't remember which
funny.
Labour MP was speaking. They said something, and she was just like widely mouthing, like, weirdo. I was like,
did you see that thing from like, I don't know what the Cambridge University paper is called, but there was an old front page. Varsity. It's called Varsity. The Tab. Exactly. The only paper at Cambridge University you should be reading. But there was an old Varsity paper which accused her of vote rigging in the Conservative Society's presidential election. And
unfortunately that was debunked. I'm so sorry.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
They could have told me that before I started that story.
Next it. Thank you very much for listening to the Politics Joe podcast. I've been Ollie Dugmore, he's been Ed Campbell, she's been Ava Santina. See you on the next one. Goodbye.